Welcome to Series Though Podcast. I'm your host, Ron. Each week, we'll dive into topics that matter to you, whether it's harnessing your tech, hacking your habits, or just making sense of the world around you. Series Though. Let's dive in.
The Critic in the Mirror. All right, let's kick things off today with a little bit of real talk. Have you ever found yourself scrolling online, maybe on social media, or even just people watching out in the world, and suddenly, bam, you're like an expert critic? You've got opinions on everyone else's life choices, what they're eating, how they're raising their kids, how much time they spend on their phone. You know what I mean? It's a pretty common human thing, it turns out. We seem to be almost wired to compare ourselves to other people. Psychologists actually call this social comparison. And in this age of social media, where it feels like everyone is constantly showing off their perfect life, these comparisons are happening all the time. Just think about it. Reputable sources like Pew Research Center tell us that the vast majority of us, especially younger folks, are on these platforms daily. That creates endless chances to compare. And let's be totally honest, endless chances to judge. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. There's this funny quirk in our brains that psychologists call the better than average effect. A lot of us tend to think we're, a bit better than average at most things. For instance, some studies have found that a big chunk of people, like maybe 65% or more, believe they have above average intelligence, which, statistically, just can't be true for everyone. And there's another idea from psychology called projection. This is a big one. It's where we might criticize something in someone else. Maybe it's a habit they have or a personality trait that actually, deep down, we don't like about ourselves or that we're personally struggling with. It's like our brain's sneaky little way of deflecting our own stuff onto other people. So today, we are diving headfirst into that very tricky territory. Why do we dish out criticism so easily? How does it often reflect our own internal battles? More importantly, how can we actually break that cycle? And this is a big one too. How do we stop letting criticism, whether it's coming from other people or from that super loud, nagging voice inside our own head, totally derail us and ruin our day? Seriously though, let's get into it. 1. Why do we dish out criticism so easily? All right, let's get real. Why are we humans so quick to jump on the criticism bandwagon? What makes us want to point out what everyone else is doing wrong? It's an ego thing. Seriously though, sometimes it just makes us feel a tiny bit better about ourselves, doesn't it? If someone else is messing up or we think they are, it can give us a little, often totally unearned boost. Like, at least I wouldn't do that. It's like our egos on a power trip. Deflection, the brain's magic trick. This is a big one. Our brains are clever. Sometimes if we're feeling a bit insecure or iffy about something in our own lives, it's way easier to focus that negative energy outwards. Pointing out someone else's flaw distracts us from having to look at our own. Classic deflection. We're pattern-matching machines. Our brains love to find patterns and make sense of the world. When something doesn't fit our pattern of how things should be, our first instinct can be to label it wrong. And let's be honest, there's a little part of us that likes being right, even if it's about someone else being wrong. Social currency and belonging. Okay, this one's a bit awkward, but sometimes criticism or gossip can actually be a weird form of social bonding. Can you believe what they did? Sharing a negative opinion can make people feel like they're in on something together. Not the healthiest, but it happens. Habit and learned behavior. Maybe we grew up around a lot of criticism, or we've just gotten into the habit of seeing the negative first. It can become a default setting if we're not careful. Sometimes, just sometimes, genuine concern. And let's be fair, occasionally, criticism does stem from a genuine place of wanting to help or concern, even if it comes out sounding like a judgment fest. The road to, is paved with good intentions, sometimes dressed in critical clothing. 2. How does it often reflect our own internal struggles and issues? Now this is where it gets juicy. How often is that thing we're criticizing in someone else actually about us? The big one. Psychological projection. This is textbook stuff, but it's so true. Psychologists call it projection. If there's something you don't like about yourself, maybe an insecurity, a fear, a habit you wish you could break, it's amazing how often you'll suddenly see that exact thing in other people and get really irritated by it. It's like your own unresolved stuff is wearing a disguise and waving at you from across the street. Example: if I'm feeling super unproductive and lazy, suddenly everyone else who's relaxing looks like they're slacking off. Funny how that works. Unmet needs or desires. Sometimes we criticize others for having or doing things that we secretly wish we had or could do ourselves. If you're wishing you were more assertive, you might criticize someone for being too quiet. If you're dreaming of a vacation, suddenly everyone posting beach pics is showing off. Reflecting our own standards. We often judge others by the same yardstick we use for ourselves. If you have incredibly high, maybe even impossibly high, standards for yourself in a certain area, you're likely to apply those same harsh standards to everyone else. If your house has to be spotless, then a friend's slightly messy place might trigger a critique. Past hurts and triggers. Sometimes another person's behavior can unknowingly poke at an old wound or a past negative experience of ours. Our criticism isn't really about them in that moment, but about our own unresolved history. Fear of our own flaws. If we're terrified of being seen as, say, incompetent, we might be extra critical of any hint of incompetence in others. It's like we're trying to distance ourselves from that feared trait by attacking it elsewhere. Seriously, though, that critical voice often has a PhD in our own insecurities. 3. How can we actually break that cycle and become a little less judgmental? Okay, so we get it. We criticize. It's often about us. So how do we actually stop it? Or at least turn the volume down on our inner Judge Judy? Step 1. Awareness is your superpower. The very first step is just noticing when you're doing it. Catch yourself in the act. That critical thought pops up, acknowledge it. There I go again. You can't change what you don't see. Step 2. The quick mirror check. Before you voice a criticism, run through those mental steps. Is this really about them? Use this acronym CRITICIZE to self-check. Instead of criticizing out loud, my inner dialogue should be more like, can I comprehend their situation? Focus on understanding first. Really, is this relevant to me or my business? Focus on personal boundaries. Is there insight here for my own growth? Focus on self-improvement. Thoughtful timing. Is now the moment or ever? Focus on appropriate engagement. If I speak, can inspire, not just injure. Focus on positive intent. Could I just choose compassion instead? Focus on kindness. Instead of judging, can I inquire if truly needed and appropriate? Focus on open dialogue. Zip it and zen out. Focus on letting it go with a bit of humor. Encourage or empower. What's the better path? Focus on positive alternatives to tearing down. Step 3. Cultivate empathy. Really try, to put yourself in the other person's shoes. What might their day be like? What pressures are they under? What experiences have they had that you know nothing about? When you start thinking about their why, judgment often softens. Step 4. Focus on your own lane. You've got a limited amount of energy. Instead of spending it analyzing and critiquing everyone else's garden, focus on tending your own. What one small thing can you improve about yourself today in an area you might usually criticize in others? Step 5. Practice gratitude and look for the good. Make a conscious effort to find things to appreciate, both in others and in your own life. When you're actively looking for the good, there's less room for negativity and nitpicking. It actually rewires your brain. Step 6. The kind, true, necessary. Before you say something critical out loud, ask yourself those 3 golden questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If it doesn't tick at least 2, maybe it's best kept as an internal thought that you then work on with steps 1 through 5. Step 7. Understand it's a process, not perfection. You're not going to become a non-judgmental saint overnight. This is an ongoing practice. Some days you'll nail it. Other days your inner critic will be having a field day. Be kind to yourself. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. Serious though.
And there we have it. Another episode of Serious Though Podcast in the books. I'm your host, Ron. Hope it added some value, laughs, or maybe just a good distraction to your day. To keep the good times rolling, please subscribe or follow the podcast right here where you listen. You can also find me at Serious Though Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Help the show grow by sharing it just with one person. Easy, right? Seriously though, thank you for your support. Means the world. Catch you next Friday.